Are we being visited by beings from other dimensions? It feels like we've been asking this question since the beginning of time. I'm curious, how have these answers evolved through the ages? My name is Reuben Langdon, and in 2014 I started communicating with beings from other dimensions. Well, more like interacting with these beings through the people who channel and experience them. It was so profound that I began recording these conversations so that I could share them with the world. If you could interview an extra-dimensional being, what kind of questions would you ask? How about the meaning of life? Or the secrets of the universe? Maybe you're just curious about who they are and where they come from, like me. Join me on a journey into other dimensions, and let's explore these new worlds together. Vasha,
Hi.
we're at an undisclosed location in the middle of America, and you're in America. So we can do this. We can have this interview. We can have this conversation. We've been talking about this kind of off and on for, I don't know, a year?
A year, at
About a
least.
year. Yeah. So I'm glad it kind of worked out.
Yeah.
You're an artist. You're an empath, intuitive.
I would call myself an intuitive artist.
An intuitive artist.
Yeah, let's say.
Explain a little bit about that. Explain what you do in that realm.
I use a 3D program to depict. I started off with depicting stuff that I've seen, beings that I've seen in my dream adventures or meditations or visions, because I noticed there wasn't really any depictions of them that were, kind of realistic. And I started doing that for myself and posting it, and people started liking it a lot, and then they started asking me to do it for them. And it's basically a process where at the start I was just taking descriptions because I wasn't really sure if I could connect or not. But as the time went by, I started getting confirmations about some things that I would do, I would be inspired to do, but nobody has told me to. And people were recognizing, ETs that they have seen in their dreams. They have been recognizing, stuff from, the books they've read. And, I've worked with quite a few channelers depicting the beings that they're channeling. And eventually I started connecting to them properly. And it was more about trusting myself. I think I was connecting with them the whole time. But I really didn't trust myself. And when that kind of shift happened for me, it opened up a whole new field for, playing with this. And, they're helping me depict them. They're telling me what to do, what not to do. Sometimes they show themselves to me, and I can clearly see them and depict what I saw. And sometimes I see nothing, and they are just guiding me within my program that I use. And I see the end result when it's finished. So I'm kind of like blind working there, which really requires a lot of self-trust for me and trusting the connection and all of that. So every single piece is different.
When did this all start for you? Kind of this sort of, I guess backing up to when you first started to do your own work from the visions and meditations that you saw?
I would say it's been about a year and a half. I'm not counting the moment where I was just drawing them off of descriptions, because I was really just playing around. I didn't plan on making a career out of it. I didn't plan any of this. I just needed some pictures for my website,
Right.
and there was nobody that could do them. So I was like, okay, let's try and play, because I have previous experience with photo manipulation and Photoshop and artwork.
Okay.
So I thought, maybe 3D would be a good way to play with this. And yeah, I think it was about a year and a half, and it happened really, really fast.
Right.
I just started posting my works, and within like a month or two, people started asking me for commissions. I'm still not really believing what happened. I'm like, I'm an artist, okay, I do this sort of work, but the way I got into it was simply by following my excitement. It wasn't like, how am I going to earn money from this? It
Right.
just, went its own way.
So with all the contact work and connecting to these beings, when in your life did this start happening? When did you know from birth that there's something greater outside?
Yeah.
There's something else going on. These other
Yeah,
things.
I'm remembering a lot from my childhood. I mean, I remember even stuff before I even learned how to walk. And I had a lot of encounters. I don't remember the faces, but I remember the feeling of it. I remember being pulled out of my body. I remember after a while, like when I started, I guess, getting into socializing with other children and all of that, I started fearing it a little bit.
Okay.
Because I realized it was not something that was supposed to be happening,
Something that others were having the same
Yeah,
experiences.
yeah,
Okay.
but before that, it just felt like home to me. And afterwards, for a longest time, I didn't know what all of that was.
Right.
Because I was too little to understand what is an ET. They were just like family to me. I mean, it was normal. And then maybe like back in 2011 or 12, I had this like big awakening moment where I just woke up and everything just seemed funny and ridiculous, and like this whole life. And
Was
after
there
that,
a catalyst for that, or was there a specific?
well,
something
it was a kind of like a catalyst, I guess, because I was getting these dreams. Now I know they were from Arcturians, my Arcturian family. I was getting dreams and downloads, and I was going to this realm that was like pure light, and everything was white, and I was understanding that I'm in contact with something, but I didn't know which race it was. I didn't know anything about it. And I remember one night I was lying in my bed, and I looked through the window, and there was just this one star blinking right at me through the window. Nothing else was visible. And I took my phone app and, checked what it
Right.
is, and I was like, okay, Arcturus.
Yeah.
And then I remembered that back when I was like 18 or something, I was lying in the grass with some of my friends, and we were like just looking at the stars and talking about, what do you think where our home is? Because, we were like clubbers, and we were into this trance music and all that, and this whole story about ETs was totally normal for us. So we always had these conversations, and somebody asked me, like, what do you think home is? And I was pointing at one of the stars that really like was attracting my attention, and I remembered it was Arcturus, the same thing. And that kind of connection with that past experience made me understand that there's something more to it, and I started researching. And I was already waking up in a way, in a way where, you understand that what is happening here is not really, what we've been told.
Right.
And the whole, secrecy and all that stuff, the chemtrails, everything,
Right.
the whole shebang. And after my awakening, I kind of gotten over all that.
I call that the conspiracy phase.
Yeah.
Like everyone first goes through
yeah.
the conspiracy phase before they actually get to the
Yeah.
awakening, I guess.
And it's a good thing, I think, because fear stuff usually shakes people up to wake up, and it's like a necessary step. But yeah, I kind of gotten over that very fast. Like within a year or two, I was already researching something else, and I was more interested in ETs. And after that awakening happened, just by realizing that I don't have to prepare for 10 years to, connect to ETs and have these abilities, I kind of released that block, and I started having like extensive communications with them. I wasn't sharing a lot about them because it was all very new to me, and I didn't back then I didn't have all the Facebook friends that I have now. I wasn't talking to many people that were abroad, and in my country, in Serbia, there wasn't many that were interested in this. So I did my own research.
And in what way did you have these contact experiences in the beginning?
Usually dreams.
Okay.
Dream experiences where I would go into astral. I mean, I already had some kind of a spiritual training throughout all of my life, meditation and shamanism and all kinds of stuff. So I understood that to that degree what was going on, that I was going somewhere and I was having these communications and downloads, and they were teaching me this. And then I would come back and really struggle to remember and write it down or something. But I didn't know what to do with it at that point. And I was researching just like you. I was talking to all these different people. I was listening to all these different channelers. And then after a while, I started trying to connect directly to these beings. You know, instead of listening to Daryl, I would try and figure out, well, what would Bashar say? What would this one say? What would that one say? And then I started getting feeling and the energies, which were very different than what you're used to, you know, when you're talking to humans. So it was kind of obvious to me that it was the ET, extraterrestrial energy, or something higher, on a higher level, because of the way they were communicating with me. But as for artwork, there was this specific moment when I realized that I can channel it. And it relates to Rob, another channel that you interviewed in your series. We're very good friends, so we work a lot together. I asked his entities for some, you know, confusions that I have about my own journey. And one of the pictures that I've done before I started channeling was just this feline hybrid being. And I didn't even know who he was, what it was. I just felt I was going to draw him, and that was it. I forgot about that. Within several months, I had a channeling session with Rob, and I just asked about, actually, I asked about my cat back then, because I was interested, why am I connecting so well to her, and why I was feeling energies that are not just animal energies in her. And Rob's channeled entity that explained to me that...
Ardif or Trib?
Eridif. I think it was Eridif. He explained to me that my cat is an extension of an ET counterpart that I have within the feline civilization. And it still didn't dawn on me at the time. I was like, okay, that makes sense, it's great. And after that session, I just sat with my cat and, you know, communicated with her, and I was telling her, give me a name. You know, like if you're connected to some other being out there or expression of this other being, give me a name. And the name I got was the same name I got for that picture that I did of that, you know, feline being that I thought I just made up. And when I looked at him, he even had the same collar pattern as my cat and the same green eyes.
But the first time when you drew the picture, you didn't
I
make
had
that
no
connection.
idea. I had no idea. And that's how it started happening for me.
Ardif just simply said that the cat was the extension of the being, and that's when things sort of connected
Yeah.
for you? Okay.
Yeah, because when I heard it, I didn't connect it.
Right.
I was like, okay, I didn't know I was connected to any feline beings. Because, you know, there was like 3 or 4 months gone by in between that I really forgot. I've done many other drawings since then. And then when the name came through, because the name came through for this one as well, and it was the same name, and then that's when I realized. And that's what kind of opened me up to the idea that I can do this, and that pretty much everyone can do this if they just release the self-doubt.
So if I was an experiencer and I came across your work and I sort of had my own experiences, whether it was a dream or physical or however my interpretation of that, but I wanted to draw that or have a physical representation so I could show other people this is what I saw, but I'm not an artist. So I call you up and I say, hey, I had this experience. What is that conversation like between?
Usually, I can't tap into something like that, but there has to be a level of it being open enough for me to depict it the way I see it. Because I'm not an illustrator. I probably could be, but that's not too exciting for me. So just working off of descriptions is not something that produces very good results when I'm working on it, because like I'm not all in it. But if I get the chance to connect and kind of figure out what it is, maybe find out some information or connect to these beings, they might show themselves to me differently. Or they might use a slightly different appearance because the person who saw them for the first time didn't see them well. Or, you know, maybe it's a screen memory. Maybe they show themselves differently every time because their vibration is so high that, you know, they kind of change their appearances. So it's very, very malleable, and that's what I try to explain to people first.
So you're not like a crime scene
No.
redrawing the...
No, but I know quite a few good ones that have made pictures of Bashar and, you
that
know,
do that kind of
Yeah.
based on the descriptions,
Yeah.
and then they kind of do this description. Okay.
Yeah, I'm more like I've wrote it on my website, like a dancer interpreting the music. I connect to the frequency, and that's my most important thing to translate. If I can translate the frequency, the details are not that important. And as soon as I relaxed into this, the details are coming out well. I mean, there's no way for me to check other than get a confirmation from the person that got the portrait when they saw it. And very, very often they come back at me with, you know, shock and awe. How is it possible that I've depicted something they have been seeing since they were a child? Or, you know, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't really manage to connect immediately, but they connect in the dreams. You know, that it does some kind of an activation that I don't fully understand. And I'm not trying to, I'm just letting it do its own thing, because when I try to intervene, it like makes it that much longer for me to finish. It's like creating obstacles, it's creating doubt, and then I'm not sure, you know, whether the hair is blue, whether the hair is, you know, yeah. As soon as I start doing that, I do it often still. I'm not like, you know, a professional channeler that, you know, every single portrait is like a process for me of self-trust, of all that, until at the end I'm happy with it and I'm like, okay, this is it.
So it's really about the person when they see it connecting to the emotion
Yes.
that they get when they see the picture, as opposed to their analytical mind saying this or that.
Yes.
It's more your focus. Your goal is to recreate the emotion
Yes.
in the individual watching the picture, as opposed to the specifics.
Yeah.
A true artist.
Yeah,
It's all
and
about
it
the
all involves colors that I use,
Yeah.
it involves backgrounds that I use,
Right.
it involves symbols sometimes, and now, more than before, lately, a lot of things appear in the image that I haven't seen while I was doing them. Like, for example, a shadow over one eye that actually was meant to mean something.
Right. Okay.
Or, you
I
know,
see.
some details like that, then later on I get messages from them that that's what it means.
I see.
And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know it was about this, you know,
Right.
but I still did it. So, yeah.
You're
it's-
following that guidance, that
Yeah.
intuition. So you're channeling. You're channeling those energies and just putting it in the, you know, there's intuitive writers,
Yeah.
there's channelers, there's you. There's the intuitive artist.
Yeah. Well, from what I understood, the biggest problem between us and the ETs is, one of the biggest problems is our language that doesn't really translate well what they have to tell us. So I'm seeing this as a way to circumvent the language and go directly to the experience. And that seems to be much easier. You know, people get touched by it much easier than the message that comes with it. And sometimes no message comes with it. You know, that's like not part of my, I guess, offering.
Right.
I'm not promising them that
Sure.
I will get something, but
Yeah, it's hard to say, right?
yeah, it's very hard to say. Sometimes they really don't want to talk to me. They want to talk to their own connection.
And has that happened? So somebody has commissioned you to do an artwork, and then you're just like, you're not getting anything
Yeah.
from that? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it has.
What
It
do you do in
has-
that case? You just tell the people, hey, I'm sorry, I'm not getting anything?
2 or 3 times, and it's usually in cases where people already have a connection working, people who are already aware of something in the dreams, or people who are even channeling already. Then the being is like, there's no, he can talk to me, or she can talk to me herself. And sometimes it's to get them to activate a little bit more and to try and establish some kind of a permanent rapport, instead of just getting information from all these other people about their own connection.
I see.
So sometimes it's to draw them out, and they just don't want to say anything except that they are wanting them to do it themselves.
Right, right. Have you done any, I forget if, have you done depictions of Ardif or Treb?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's
Maybe,
the one
actually,
that,
I have seen the Treb one. I don't think I've seen the Ardif one.
Ardif is the one that he uses on everything almost.
With the purple eyes?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's yours. Okay, I wasn't sure where that came from. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Recently I saw a piece of art you've done from, from Bashar. And then I sort of recently saw the Bashar movie, and I saw that it was more like a cartoony, a little cutesy in the Bashar, in the...
Casper the Friendly Ghost.
That's that was in the movie,
It's
but then
very
I saw
cute.
yours, and I'm like, I think yours is a little closer to probably what the real Bashar looks
Well,
like.
I was really, really excited about seeing the movie.
Yeah.
And then when I saw the depictions, the way they're done, it clicked to me that they're pretty much doing the same thing I'm doing. They're channeling the emotion.
Right.
If you had the beings I depicted the way I see them,
Right.
walking around like that, I think there would be a lot of kids scared,
Right.
They don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But, I'm always open to being wrong,
Sure.
It might be that, I'm totally off, and that's only how I see them, and nobody else sees them that way. So, I am hoping that we will find out
Yeah.
very soon.
And you recently done this, I forget the name, is it like Sherry or Cheryl, this Yael female?
Okay.
What was
Shayla.
Shayla. How did that come about?
Shayla is somebody that I have been working with in my dream states on their ship. And that was all the way back from 2013 when I got into the hybrid children. I first met my hybrid daughter, which shocked me completely. I wasn't looking for it. I wasn't, researching it. And then after that, I started researching more about the abductions and the grays, and started remembering my experiences from childhood.
So you met your hybrid daughter before you even knew really about the hybrid?
Before I even had an idea about what a hybrid child is. I mean, I kind of heard it from Bashar back then a little bit, but I really did not look for the connection. And that sort of happened also in a dream, but it was the most realistic, emotional experience that I've ever had with any other ET.
And what was that? Can you describe the experience?
Well, the dream was basically somewhere in the mountain range, all the way up high. I had a feeling it might have been in Tibet or some kind of a big mountain range like that. And we were almost at the tops, and there were a lot of people there, and we were all waiting for them to come. And I thought, silly me, I thought I was with my friend, keeping him company, and he was going to meet his children or, some connection. And I was just standing on the side, and all of a sudden, all of them disappeared, and there was just this one little ship with the glass dome. It looked like something from a cartoon almost, like a single-person ship that materialized on the ground a little bit, away from me. And I thought, they came to see my friend, but my friend was already gone, and I was all alone there at night in the middle of a mountain, and snow was everywhere. And I remember just having this feeling, taking a deep breath, okay, this is it. I'm going to have an encounter now. I was totally lucid. I was aware that, this was going on. And
You knew you were dreaming.
there is a possibility that I wasn't.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right.
I can't tell.
It's hard to say those differences these days.
Yeah, there is a possibility that I actually got snatched and, teleported there. I don't know. In any case, I remember slowly descending, and this being came out of that ship in some kind of a white spacesuit. And I remember she had white hair and yellow face, like the weird yellow. You can't get that kind of yellow on Earth. It was like a mustard kind of color, just brighter, and from the distance. And I thought it was just some ET, and I thought I was going to be, you know, like all cool and coming to meet them, but my legs were just like stopped working. My knees were shaking. Like I totally had a reaction like you would have right now in real life if something that unusual happened to you. It didn't feel like a dream. But I was, you know, slowly approaching anyways, and I saw big black eyes, but not as, you know, big gray, just like bigger than ours. And as I was coming to the range where I could discern the facial expression, I saw this being smile. And suddenly, like a resonator thing, it happened that I understood immediately that she's my daughter. And this whole physical discomfort and experience disappeared immediately. And I just came to her, and she did this sign language thing that I remembered teaching her in other dreams. I just didn't know it was a hybrid. I thought I was dreaming about having some kids, you know. I remember teaching her, and she did something like this, and like twice in the chest, and said, Elra. The voice was like, the closest I can describe it is if you put like a cooling fan in front of your face and start talking in it. It was chopped.
Right,
like,
right. Choppy, yeah.
Yeah, it was very choppy. Yeah, and a little bit like higher pitched, like it was like sped up.
Right.
Or like not really fitting my vibration, so it sounded differently, I don't know. And I remember just standing there and not knowing my name. Like I was supposed to say my name or something, and I kind of stopped identifying with all these names and I was just standing there and shrugging, and she telepathically sent to me, like, don't worry, Mom, I know who you are. I just started laughing. Yeah. And she had like this device that I've never seen anywhere else before that almost looked like a tricorder. And she was doing some scans around the planet and stuff like that. And that's pretty much all I remember. I had a cut, and then after that I remember all these different people in a huge hangar talking to their own children. And I remember seeing that these ships that the children were in were actually going inside the mountain through the wall. But after that, for a week, I was crying. I was like so shook up, because what do you do when you find out you have a child somewhere out there?
Right, right.
You know, like all these, like I don't have a physical child, so
sure.
This was my first impression of feeling like a mother, and
right.
It was very hard for me. But why were we even talking about that?
Well, I think I started asking about Shayla.
Shayla, yes, okay, now I got it.
And you said you've been doing a lot of communicating with her.
It's related. On the ships. Yeah. It's related because Shayla is one of the people that I worked with along with hybrid children. She is one of the Yael, and she has been a counterpart of a friend of mine that I used to work with, but since these counterparts seem to be so flexible, a lot of different people can have the same counterpart. So a lot of different people started connecting with Shayla when I depicted her. And ironically, she was one of the rare ones that I've actually seen. Like I remember talking to her, and I remember her blue skin and the gold locks and all of it. And she, at that point, she was in charge of some kind of a hybrid children-human introduction. I don't know what is she doing right now, but I know that there are people who are starting to channel her out there. Okay. So, you know, whoever wants to look it up, they can. Back then, we were this kind of like a team of researchers and experiencers, and we were connecting to all these different beings, and then Rob was very helpful for us because we could talk to these beings through him. And eventually...
Did Rob channel Shayla at any point?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I think he channeled her quite a few times now. Sean Swanson also channeled Shayla.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So it seems like Shayla is one of the like prominent figures in their Yael society, and she has a lot of communications with humans. So she's very open to people connecting to her if they want to find out about their hybrid children or child, or just, their connections to the Yael or the hybrids in general. Yeah.
When you first heard about the hybrid children, Yael, Sasani, did it all resonate right away, or did you
Well, after having that experience with my daughter,
Sure,
I
sure.
really did not have any doubts about it.
Right.
But then I started researching. And then a lot of dots started connecting because I was going through all these different kinds of material, not just the channeling, but also people, abductees,
Yeah.
People who had traumatic events,
Sure.
people who, had military abductions, all that sort of thing I was researching. And I realized that I was being taken since I was a little child. So it's not something that started for me when I was able to have children. I also remembered that I had a few unexplained pregnancies that also unexplained, the disappearance of them was unexplained.
Can you explain it? About 2 months pregnancy?
About 2 months.
Yeah.
I remember I ended up...
That's a common thing
I ended up in a hospital, and this is probably good to share because a lot of people have these experiences. I ended up in a hospital because the doctor determined that, I don't know the English expression for that, but it's like a pregnancy outside of uterus that is very dangerous. Like the fetus gets attached to the ovary or something. I don't know the medical stuff. People can look it up. But I ended up in a hospital because they wanted to operate on me, even though I knew there was no chance for me to be pregnant.
Right. But did it show up on a pregnant test?
The 7 doctors did ultrasound probes all over.
Right.
And they all saw the baby's heart beating. The next day, they were prepping me for surgery. I was already in that, surgical gown and everything. And the results from the lab came, and it wasn't anything. And all of a sudden, it was just like polycystic ovaries or, some kind of syndrome that... I just remember lying there, and 7 of them were looking at that monitor that I did not see. It was like next to my head, and they saw baby's heart beating. And they were like, we have to, end this right now because, if it breaks, it might kill her.
Yeah.
That was one time. The other time, it was like that. It was like a 2 months pregnancy out of nowhere. I did not have a relationship. It was no way for me to be pregnant. And then it was gone.
How long was the first? Was that about 2 months as well? Before you
They said that it was almost 6 months.
6 months.
Or
Wow.
like 5
Okay.
months or something. It was quite big. That's why it was shocking to
Oh, I
me
see.
because I'm like, how would I not know?
Sure.
I mean, I had pains, but
Yeah.
so yeah, that kind of shifted my whole perspective when I remembered that and all these different times when I was getting taken from my room. And then the childhood memories of hearing, the plane humming sound were triggering me into leaving my body. It was like I was all ready when I hear a specific sound. I knew something was going to happen. A lot of these encounters from my childhood had like a screen memory of a cartoon character, though. So I have developed a little bit of a traumatic, reaction when I would see certain cartoon characters. Even E.T. the Extraterrestrial movie was triggering me into something that I did not understand. But eventually I've learned, as I was researching all this, that because I didn't understand it, I was fearing it. But once they took me and I was already in that conscious space with them, it was like home. It was just that moment of getting me out of my shell, I guess, out of my third density reality. That was scary for me. And also another thing that a lot of experiencers with the abductions and hybrid children have in common is that their family has a military history. It's usually the father who is part of the military or, somebody from the male side of the family, and that's the case with me.
Okay.
I mean, he wasn't really directly connected, but he was working with the army and he was working on some top secret projects. So it all just like really fits together when you research all of it.
Yeah, it is. It's funny because I started researching the abductees and the experiencers before I got into the channeling and the hybrid programs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I kind of went the more of the conspiracy, hard evidence side first, and
Yeah.
then this stuff started like connecting the dots for that world. So
Yeah.
I kind of had that perspective first.
I can totally appreciate
Yeah.
that. I mean, I was spiritual my whole life, but I had a moment where I really did not want anything to do with anything unless it's scientific.
Yeah.
Because it was like up to here from all
Right.
the fake,
woo-woo.
information that you can get. It's very hard to find something that's like Bashar, for example. At
Yeah.
least at that moment, it was hard for me. So I like just shunned it all away, and
Yeah.
the only reason I got back into it were pretty much Nassim Haramein and Bruce Lipton, Dr.
Oh,
Bruce Lipton.
okay.
That's what got me back into spirituality, because there was somebody finally explaining it in a scientific way instead of that it's something magical happening.
Right,
I
right.
mean, it's both. I understand
sure.
that, but like this element is needed.
Yeah.
The I guess it's not even rigid structure anymore. It's just like a cold hard facts. It's needed. And for me, that was the entrance into the whole area of ETs and channeling and everything. I entered with physics.
Yeah, I find our paths a little bit similar in a lot of ways. When I started getting into your research, sort of simultaneously with my stuff, and then I'd cross notes, and you'd ask questions that I wanted to ask, and then vice versa. So I've been sort of a fan of your exploration and your research, and of course your art. But it's almost like you're researching at the same time.
Yeah.
And asking these questions, and you're going.
That's why it's fun to do the art.
Yeah.
Because I get all these, different beings and information about them.
Right. So how do you discern the difference? We had the conversation yesterday, which was sort of reassuring about the zetas. What does the zeta feel like? And we were like, you said something about coffee or something.
Yeah, like overdosing on caffeine.
Right. Yeah, and I feel like I had my first zeta experience recently. That was very just tight, very, overdosing on caffeine. Beautiful way to say that. How about these other races? Like, what is the Arcturians? What do they feel like?
They seem to be feeling the same for pretty much everyone. They feel like home.
Okay, home.
They feel
All right.
like it's very easy to connect to them because they're so ethereal and like omnipresent. They are not usually in physical bodies. Some of them are, but what people don't usually realize is that there are like 17 races of Arcturians over there, and they only know about one that's connecting to them or something. But they're all different densities, different kind of advancement. When I talk about them, I tend to go the Lisa Royal way. I tend to talk about the non-physical ones.
Palladians, how do they differ from Arcturians?
Well, that's, for example, new for me. I was never able to connect with them very well.
Right.
But that was mainly because of the information that was coming online about them that I really did not resonate with. I mean, people have these preconceptions about who they are and what they are.
Sure.
But, when we're talking about the human-looking Pleiadians, my closest experience is when I was connecting with Sasha, who Lisa channels, and when I was connecting to my own counterpart. And they feel very close to us, but the experience that kind of got me into their world and got me to understand more about them was when I saw through Sasha's eyes. I had, with Lisa, this was very funny because we went back and forth with me trying to depict Sasha, and I could not see her. Every time I would connect, I would see through her eyes.
Oh.
I was not able to see her, so we, managed to put it together along with all three of us. Ron was, involved as well about the descriptions, who saw what, and just put it together. But that experience that I had, I think that was my first experience of proper fourth density world.
Okay.
And it felt almost like a dream, like you would feel like completely careless, joyful, and serene and centered and wise. That's the best way I can describe it, but still feels human.
Yeah.
It's just like how you would imagine the wisest and most enlightened person here, and maybe then some. That's what the Pleiadians feel like. But they're very, very close to us, and I can understand why so many people connect to them, because it feels really nice.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't feel like I've really had that Palladian connection thing yet either.
Yeah.
Mantis beings.
They are, at least the ones I was connecting with, are quite bossy feeling. That they feel bossy in a way where they don't really beat around the bush. They tell you everything. And my first experience with a mantis was when I was snatched by a reptilian on a ship that had all these different races on. And the feeling of it, they all felt like a Firefly episode, you know. They were all like, you know, teasing each other on the ship, and, you know, it was very relaxed. And then the mantis being came, and it scared me to death. I did not know what I was looking at.
Oh, okay.
I don't get scared by reptilians.
Yeah.
I don't get scared by any of this, but just the alienness of the way it was moving, like a gigantic insect, like shaky, slowly, you know. And the way I felt like I was paralyzed by its energy felt like, you know, I'm pretty sure a lot of people would, you know, experience that as a trauma. But for me, I was just trying to look at it and see what can I see and what can I feel. And the amount of focus that it had, I've never felt that anywhere else. I mean, all the other crew members, like they were hybrids and some of them were reptilian, they were all seeming like they were beaming respect towards this mantis being.
Okay.
That was my only experience and my first experience with a mantis being, and I did not realize it was a mantis being until, of course, I woke up and later on, you know, throughout the day, kind of started remembering what it looked like, really, because I thought it was some kind of a tall gray. It did not move like anything I've seen before. The closest I can come is if you've seen the Close Encounters of the Third Kind. That last being that starts coming out of the ship, like with long legs and
Right.
like looking all shaky. That's what I've seen.
And you had another encounter with them, you said?
I had another
Oh,
one.
with the automatic writing.
With automatic writing,
Right.
yeah. And that's when they were telling me that they require clarity for communication, and that I need to defragment myself, which I understood what they meant because I was reading about this already, and it kind of really fits together well about beta brainwave states and all these other brainwave states that we have where they communicate with us. And what they're basically saying, to me at least, is that I have to work on integrating these states so that I can remember what happens in both instead of,
Right.
you know, remembering one but not the other when I'm in these states. And it makes sense to me. I got really surprised that they told me that, you know, this is what we require. Like, we require clarity, basically, or else you're not going to be talking to us. They're not interested in me misinterpreting.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, but I do feel loving energy from them. It's just very alien, very different when you actually see them. And I think most people don't really. They have screen memories, or they appear as somebody else, or their brain translates into something that they're more familiar with, because anybody with, you know, human DNA seeing a gigantic insectoid-like looking thing is going to be freaked out just by the unusual. It's not even scary. It's just so unusual that
Right.
it kicks you out of your own center, you know.
Sure.
But it's a really great experience, and I know you have more experiences with mantis than I do.
No, I've only had a couple, so it's I like to get different takes and stuff, and
Yeah, no, I really like connecting with them. It's very, very specific.
Yeah.
They don't really beat around the bush. They don't go, dear one, you know, et cetera, et cetera. No, it's like this.
Right. And finally, I guess, well, and I know there's many others, but reptilians.
Yeah, well, with them, it really depends. There's so many different ones. I can't say, you know, a blanket statement for all of them, because they're like, you know, more malevolent ones, more interested in their own self.
Is there a characteristic that goes across all of them that
I
that you
would
could-
say that the one thing that goes across all of them is that they're connecting very well with our first three chakras.
Okay.
They're very carnal beings, very grounded, very powerful. So these three chakras, aligning those three chakras in a communication with the reptilian helps insanely well, and prevents all these jarring emotions that, and knee-jerk reactions that people have when they see them. And another thing is that most of them like display of strength, display of pride. So when they first encounter somebody, they're gonna puff up, almost like they're gonna make themselves look more threatening, and that's almost like their way of saying hello. I mean, that's my experience, what I've seen and what I've heard from other people. Maybe somebody else has different experiences. I'm not saying like it's the ultimate truth.
Sure.
But in any case where I was connecting to a reptilian, they require respect. They don't care much about, lovey-dovey feelings unless they're like higher up, like Treb, for example. But even Treb gets excited with everything, he's not really just loving. They are almost like, like when you have, I don't know, Vikings maybe, or Maori tribes that, like hit they wrestle just to say hello.
Makes them, yeah.
And then if you accept that kind of a greeting and you play along with it and you do the same thing, or rah, make yourself look, strong and all that, after that they just start being completely normal and you can talk to them like, we're talking. That whole, the ritualistic thing is over, and you go on with the normal communication. It's just that from what I notice, a lot of people get scared by that first, initial response by a reptilian that, goes and they think they're going to get attacked or something, but it's just the way they are. All of them are like that.
Right. Have you had much experience outside of ETs and what we perceive as ETs, in the sense of demonic ghosts or
Yes.
Other energies, and how would you categorize those other energies?
Yes, I had extensive experiences with those, and I think that was my preparation to do this work, because now I can connect with all these beings without freaking out.
So prior to the ET experiences, you've had other experiences.
As I told you, I had like shamanic training.
Yeah.
I was never initialized or anything. I was just interested in all that, and in a lot of things. I used to be a Wiccan at some point. At one time in my life, in my early 20s, these like astral attacks started happening very, very frequently. And I also got involved with helping some people that were basically being targeted by a satanistic cult.
Wait, people who are, the cult was targeting these people?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a story I've actually never told anyone or anywhere, because I kind of don't want to scare people.
Sure.
But it's my experience in a way that I've learned something very valuable from this. I'm not going to go into the whole story of what happened. Maybe sometime I will share it in the future. But I had astral attacks. I had these beings trying to suck out. They almost seemed like dementors from Harry Potter. They were trying like to suck out my soul through my mouth, and all kinds of stuff was happening to me at night. I would go to what I call lower astral, which is like our subconscious and conscious, like unconscious fears, and it's like a whole realm just built on that.
Fears. Huh.
It's all like black and white and very dense and very fearful. You feel fearful in it.
Right.
And I had so many of these experiences that I just, like, it flipped over for me. I got sick of it, and I was like, okay, so let's see what this is about. I'm not going to try to avoid it any longer or run away. I mean, I know I can run away already. Like, let's see what happens when I face it. And I kind of started seeing that what all of these teachings are teaching us now, I saw that in an example of what was going on in those experiences, that I'm simply seeing a part of myself that I have not really recognized and integrated. And when I changed my perspective into that, and also changed my perspective by putting myself in their shoes, like, what would it be like to be this being? Like, what would
To be a satanic cult guy?
Yeah, or
person?
a demon,
Or
you know, like
actual demon,
like a negative
okay.
entity that's like, you know, wanting something off of me. Like,
Sure,
what
sure.
would be my goals? How would I feel? Why would I, you know, I was really wondering, why are they doing what they're doing?
Right.
And by kind of like doing that, overlapping and putting myself in the shoes of the, you know, whatever was making me have these experiences, I stopped having the experiences. I suddenly, every time I would end up in that realm, I would feel empowered. Like, I would feel like I'm one of them, wherever I am.
Right.
Okay, I'm one of I'm one of you guys now.
Right.
Or, you know, I end up with Arcturians. I'm one of you guys now. And
Right.
that's kind of how I worked through it. But I was also a target of that cult at some point, because inadvertently I did like a tarot reading to help somebody, and it was like me opening the door and saying hi to them, you know, energetically. And I had like a week of suicidal thoughts that I knew they weren't mine, but it was so strong. It was so strong. And a few people have already killed themselves that were like white mages or whatever they were trying to work against this.
Wow.
And I think this is like the most important part of what I want to share. The only way I got out of it was to realize that both of these sides are playing the same game.
Yeah.
Like, when I saw, you know, these people who call themselves white mages just provoking constantly and creating this dynamic that was like a perfect contrast. I mean, it was an orchestration, and it was probably needed for their own experiences.
Right.
But I just at some point got sucked out of it, and all the suicidal thoughts, everything, just the whole dynamic just go like poof. And ever since then, it's very hard for me to get into this duality, because I can see the both sides are making the same mistakes. You know, it's when you go through a personal experience like that and have that type of a, you know, change of perspective, like I would say that suddenly from being a player in the game, I started being the, you know, observer of the whole game. I wasn't even part of the game anymore. I was, you know, understanding that they both think they're right from their own perspective.
Sure.
And they're doing what they have to do to, you know, like maintain that dynamic.
Right.
But when you get out of it, it's like friends. They're all friends.
Yeah.
You know, they're just like fellow beings that, you know, have their own thing that they're doing.
Sure.
And that is what helped me, you know, deal with any kind of encounters later on that I had, which were like maybe of malevolent nature, negative. It never ended up being that way.
Right.
It might have started that way, like maybe, you know, some being had an intention towards me, but with this perspective, they simply cannot, they lose their will to do it. They just kind of...
Because they're sort of looking for that reflection back to, so they can push against it. But if there's nothing to push against, then you're not even part of the, you know...
You're not participating in the argument anymore.
Right, right.
And you're not fueling it.
Right.
But there's another aspect, at least that I understood when it comes to reptilians. There is this pushing when it comes to these more, you know, ferocious ones. They are bred to dominate their, you know, it's in their blood to be like that. So I kind of go, you know, I filter that out as just like the way they are. But the thing is, when you address them as an equal, and if you respect that they have their own perspective and reasons for it, and not try to shove love down their throat, because that's the worst thing you can do. It's like a direct attack. And I know people are like, oh yeah, there's one weakness that these beings have. But you're perpetuating, like we're supposed to be trying to find a common language, at least on some level. And if we can't understand that they have their own perspective, of course we can't, because we don't understand our fellow humans here even. And it's the same thing. So once you understand that, this being has their own way of looking at things, their own way of connecting to the source, their own way of doing everything, and if you come at them with that energy, without wanting them to change or like feeling pity for them or, trying to help them, they can be so helpful. They're so wise. Like you can learn a lot from them. In case, people tend to misunderstand and misread. When in contact with such an experience, if it's something that you feel is malevolent or demonic, you always have a choice. It's not like them doing something to you. You can respond in the same way we were talking about reptilians. You can be as threatening to them as they are to you, if that's what you want.
Right.
You can send them love if that's what you want, but you can try to understand them, and that's what they want, it seems. Because they don't really, I didn't really get the idea that when I was being under these attacks, energy attacks, that they were really their ultimate goal was to somehow, destroy me.
Sure.
It just seemed like they were on autopilot. That's how they're geared. But when I tried understanding them, the whole energy changed. And I think that's the most important perspective to at least having one. You don't have to completely embody it, but remember it. If you're having an encounter, remember trying to understand what this other being is experiencing. And that kind of switches the polarity into something that's, a bit zoomed out, a bit more clear, or a bit more where you can see that you're not a victim or somebody else is a victim, but that it's like a dynamic happening, So yeah, people can defend themselves from this, but if that's what they're going through, it means that there's something they need to look at within. It's coming for a reason.
Right.
And, being pushed away, it's just going to make it worse.
Sure. Just like our reptilian story, they're there to teach us something, to learn a story.
Yeah. Otherwise, they wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
They have their own role in creation, like every being has, every consciousness has, It's not like creation and these guys over there.
Right.
That's just like a theoretical version that people hold, like a perspective that haven't really embodied that yet.
Right.
And it's good for start, but you need to experience that. You need to understand that it really is that kind of a connection, that all of it is one in a way that you can relate to it. It's part of yourself. It's reflecting back to you. That's all you need to know.
Yeah. And this perspective you have now, I assume this is more recent, or has this perspective sort of been there for a while?
Well, it's been there since that experience, since I've, been under all these attacks and finally kind of stepped back and saw how to get out of it, and I saw the whole game and everything when it comes to polarity. That doesn't mean that I'm suddenly like an enlightened master. I, still have my own experiences where I'm biased. I still have my own experiences where, I'm not really in alignment. I get unconscious and I, do something out of my own programming or whatever, reactionary. But overall picture that is something that I'm embodying every day more and more.
Right.
And especially in experiences that might be considered fearful. I welcome them because that's my chance to see where I'm at.
Right.
When I'm talking to these positive beings, it's,
It's lovey-dovey and fun.
It's lovey-dovey, it's what everyone wants, and everyone is asking me, how do I connect to the positive ones?
Right.
And, that's okay. But for me, I know that the fear is a doorway. Like Bashar always said, that was my experience as well. So whenever I sense fear, I get excited because I know I'm going to learn something new. Right. And I'm going to see something about myself that I had a blind spot about. And that's how I use it.
Awesome.
So basically I'm super selfish and I'm doing all of this just so I can grow.
Yeah.
It's just that people are benefiting off of it.
Right. Well, but that's everybody's story too.
No, that's the point of following your excitement.
Yeah. Exactly.
I get so happy to see that people are actually getting something out of this.
Yeah.
It's not my goal, it's not like my obsession to wake anybody up.
Sure.
But if I can just like put it out there and make, you know, somebody else open to
have fun doing your thing, and then
Yeah.
if somebody else likes
Yeah.
it, then they can call you and ask for an ET drawing.
Yeah.
You mentioned you think something got lost in translation from the reptilians. What? Because a lot of this old, I call it Yakuza mentality, of this sort of pyramid structure, guy on top, owning, controlling everything else. And we sort of relate that to the reptilians and that reptilian way of doing things. What's your take on that?
Well, reptilian is such a blanket term.
Right.
There's so many different ones, some of them not even knowing who the Dracos are, you know,
Right.
not even having ever met them or contacted them. But when people talk about this, they usually refer to the Draco Empire.
Sure.
And, you know, we like calling it Empire because of Star Wars, I guess.
Right.
And yeah, they do have...
Were they the ones in your research, do you think they were the ones that sort of pushed the whole Orion War situation?
From what I understand, the Orion was also involved with some human looking
Right.
entities, but it was also reptilians, and there's still a lot of reptilians there.
Okay.
They're just not as, you know, as we would think reptilians to be.
Right. They've sort of graduated from that story.
They graduated. And the thing is, when a being is so under pressure, so split, so divided, so contracted, when the transformation happens, it happens that much more. So these, even the Dracos that are, you know, splitting off of this paradigm that, you know, they had going on there with the, you know, Draconian Empire and them wanting to rule the galaxy or whatever their, you know, goal was. Basically, the Dracos can evolve very quickly once they split off and stop buying into that paradigm, because even, you know, if you have a pyramidal scheme, all of these under are not going to be happy.
Right.
No matter if they're reptilian or whatever they are. So, you know, there's a lot of shifting happening there too, and I think it relates to what is happening on Earth in some way as well. I believe we, by shifting our perspectives from the rigid, you know, this or that, and the rigid us versus them, into a more holistic view of the whole picture, is helping them understand themselves better, because they relate to our reptilian brain. They relate to our passionate instincts, to our, you know, I don't even know what would I call it, except for the reptilian brain. Everyone knows what it is. The lower three chakras, let's say. You know, they can go either way. They can either be balanced or they can be completely ego-based and, you know, selfish and all that. We have all of that within us, and we can understand them very well. If we would accept that, you know, this is a part of us and resolve that shadow on a collective base. So what is happening from what I'm observing now is that we are kind of parallel evolving with them, because they're so engraved in our business here. There's a connection that has been made, and a lot of them are really splitting off. And, you know, that doesn't mean that all of them are going, you know, to be light and shiny and happy. Some of them are just splitting off and going there to do their own thing without, you know, following orders anymore, without wanting to conquer. They just want to have their own lives, basically, their own decisions. But the latest I have heard, I think it was...
This story, where are you getting this from?
Various different sources and my own.
Okay.
There is a channeler who channels one of these groups that have split, and I have connections in a few of these groups that have already split. Rob has his own sources that, you know, are talking about the same thing. Even Roxy, I remember, she channeled one of the reptilians that was talking about this. They are getting tired of playing the bad guy of the galaxy.
Right.
And this role was needed. It was needed for us to learn anything. You can't learn anything without having a contrast of some sort.
Sure.
So, you know, we
Serving a
need to
purpose.
appreciate them for that,
Mm-hmm.
for starters. You don't have to agree with them, you don't have to live like them,
Right.
but at least, you know, appreciate that there is a contrast that is pushing you to learn.
Right.
And since now it's slowly dissolving and the whole humanity is kind of shifting in this positive direction of integration and accepting all these lost, you know, children that we have rejected from our own selves,
Right.
it seems like the reptilians are going through the same thing. Probably not the most, you know, engraved ones on the top, but, you know, a lot of them are.
Yeah.
And I think that is a great news because from what we've learned, all these races have had so many problems with reptilians, you know.
Right.
It's not just us.
Right.
So who knows? Maybe we're going to, you know, help make peace in the galaxy without even knowing it.
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
least with them.
Yeah, your work and your research, you really sort of opened my eyes to these other reptilian races, and
Yeah.
sort of, I like how you put out your personal channelings, channeling sessions you've had with other channelers who have these
Yeah.
reptilians, and you sort of put that out there
Yeah.
for the world and for myself to listen and compare research and
Yeah.
hear these stories, and it really helps take away the fear and the you know that perception of, oh, all reptilians are bad kind of perception
Yeah.
that a lot of us, especially in the spiritual communities, label and put on these guys.
Well, that's what I find funny is like saying all humans are like this or like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Or like all members of this human race are like this or like that. You
Right.
can't do that. The space is vast.
Sure.
There are like millions of these different beings out there. Yes, there's a limited amount of them that are in direct contact with us.
Right.
But we all have these oversoul connections all over the place. There are places that, you know, they have reptilians that did not originate from the Dracos. So it's not just the Dracos that brought all reptilians to our galaxy.
Sure.
They're, you know, like Treb, for example, is like a, you know, hybrid between a animal reptile and an advanced human.
Right.
So that's the same with Pleiadians. There's no like all positive and all negative. You have all these different groups. I mean, Pleiades is a system of so many stars and
Sure.
so many races around there.
Yeah.
Just like Orion, just like Sirius, just like Arcturus. And even though I would probably say for Arcturus that I don't think that a negative-oriented being would be able to exist within that.
Right.
They are so high up that
Yeah.
they probably wouldn't be interested in being there.
Right. So, what races would you say would be the key ones that have that humans that either are DNA or spiritually or that we're interacting with?
Well, reptilians for sure. I mean, we have their DNA. We know about that. The Lyrans,
Lyrans, yes. Okay.
or
some-
Lyrans, how people
Lyrans,
call them.
we didn't cover them yet.
They are supposedly the origin of a human form in this neighborhood.
Okay.
So that's like our far, far, far ancestry.
Right.
And from
Even
them,
in the last interview I did with Lisa, she said that Palladians actually
Come from Lyrans.
that was our connection. Yeah.
yeah.
Was they were the
Yeah, so
Lyrans.
basically all these humanoid forms are related to us, just like we are to them. I am not sure about the insectoid, like whether we have their DNA, but I know that the mantis beings, even though there's so many different ones again,
For sure.
most of how I perceived them and what I heard about them was that they're master geneticists. So even if they're not contributing their own DNA, I think they're somehow involved in this alteration that we're going through. Arcturians for sure.
Maybe in a DNA level or more of a spiritual level?
I
or
think
kind
they're working on these etheric DNA strands. You know how people say we have 12? Well, those 12 are etheric. They're not physical. They're not going to be manifested as physical, at least from what I know. But they're on these other levels, just like we have, you know, 8th, 9th, 10th chakra.
Right.
The different levels of existence. And they are the ones that are seemingly tweaking us. At least my experience with them was when they got me on the ships, they would somehow tweak my energy body so that in physical I can be more loving and receive more light and hold in more of that energy. So that's kind of like their thing, what they're doing, and they're also doing a lot of emotional healing. But I can't forget Sirius, you know. Sirius is there, and, you know, all these aquatic beings. There's felines there. There's, again, all these different races that are around Sirius, but we are mostly connecting directly here on the planet with cetaceans, you know, like whales and all these beings that are, you know, kind of like conduits for that energy. But when it comes to DNA, I think at this point we can't even tell anymore.
Right.
Maybe at some point when it just started, there was like a clear picture of who contributed. But I think what actually happened was over time we were, you know, tweaked and tweaked by all these different beings. And, you know, if it might be so that we can be helped more, you know, it might be for their own agendas. But, you know, ultimately the universe has like a structure that is gonna end up happening. Evolution is inevitable, you know. So, you know, there's no reason for people to worry when it comes to that. Somehow it's gonna come up, the cork is gonna pop to the surface, as Abraham says. But in my opinion, the most important ones are the hybrids, because they're bridging. They're literally bridging.
Right.
And
physically and
how I saw it, I mean, I am excited about meeting all of these physically.
Yeah.
But when it comes to hybrids, I understand this thing, and that is when a human that hasn't got any idea about ETs, that might be afraid, comes face to face with their own child, that connection cannot be ignored. It cannot be broken. It's something that's very, very tangible. I mean, I felt it very strongly without wanting or expecting it or, you know, looking for it. So I think the hybrids are the key when it comes to us opening up to these foreign energies. That's probably going to be why, you know, we are going to be integrating them in our society, because they're part of us and they can relate to us better than the actual ET can.
Sure.
Probably a lot of them would like to ask us a lot of questions. You know, it's not just that the teachers are connecting to us.
Right.
It's not just, you know, these beings who want to share information with us. There are also a lot of them who are genuinely excited about having a counterpart as a human.
Well, the kids seem to be really excited about coming here. So that's going to be interesting how they really, like,
well,
what is that? What is that whole integration of the kids here?
That's, you know, something that I've been thinking about a lot, but to me, we are not yet humans.
Sure.
You know, we're becoming what we're gonna become. And a lot of people, you know, see us or themselves as, you know, not worthy or, you know, constantly in conflict or like a, you know, race infesting this planet. And it's really not that the way they see us. Maybe some of them do, probably. But most of them are very aware that we have this genetics that's blending within us, and if we are successful in integrating all these things and all these emotional extremes, we are going to be, let's say, a major player.
Yeah.
A major player, you know, a highly advanced, we have a potential to be a highly advanced civilization that has something that none of them have.
Right.
And that's how I see humans. And, you know, that's why I, you know, haven't lost faith in humanity or this and that. But, you know, when you look at people who get caught up, like you said before, they are also contributing to that because they're, you know, going so deep, so far away, like fractalizing all the way out as far as they can stretch. And then they bring all of that with them as, you know, an experience that is going to be integrated in the collective. That's what all of us also are doing. In my perspective, we are exploring this realm and then, you know, sending it back and forming the other counterparts and forming the oversoul and forming the vacuum, as Nassim Haramein says. So it's, you know, constant variety and uniqueness, as they say sometimes, that is what is good about being here on the planet. I mean, yes, we are collective, and at some point we're going to be a collective consciousness that is going to harmonize, but it's our unique perspectives that are making this whole experience something else entirely.
Right.
And I think that needs to be appreciated no matter what level somebody is on.
Sure. Yeah.
Just like with reptilians and Pleiadians or Nectarians, you know.
Thank you very much for being in the middle of nowhere. So I can come and visit you and do this interview. And I'm glad we finally got to do it. And I look forward to future stuff. Keep us posted. How do people find you?
Vashta.com.
Vashta.
They can find links to my Facebook, my YouTube, my everything on that website.
Sweet. Awesome.
Yeah.
And look forward to seeing more cool art and seeing where that goes, and maybe future channelings.
Yeah, that's very, very possible the way it's going right now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I'm really glad that I got the chance to talk to you as well, and to meet you and to participate in your awesome project. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.